Hello everyone, this is James with Lenspiration, and today we're going to talk about 8 different principles that you can start applying today that will help your picture turn out noticeably better regardless of what camera you're using. Find yourself in a situation where all you have is a mobile device or an old point-and-shoot camera? Maximize its quality by keeping these 8 principles in mind. Number 1, shoot under lots of light. Mobile devices, point-and-shoots, and other compact cameras use sensors that are physically very small, like this one down here. The megapixel count may be enormous, but the fact that these sensors are compact means that they cannot render detail very well when using a high ISO. So here's an image where there is a low ISO being used, 50, and you can see it's a relatively high quality image zoomed in at about 100%. When it's bright outside, the camera doesn't need to use a high ISO, so the sensor can render great detail. However, as things get darker, the camera has to start using higher ISOs. In this shot here, we have 800 ISO, so the sensor cannot render as great of detail. Hence, lower image quality and low light situations. So if you want to get amazing pictures with low-end cameras, then just remember to shoot under plenty of light. Number 2, avoid shooting directly toward a light source. Glass and lens elements of lower-end cameras, they just don't have the ability to handle lens flare very well. For example, here's a shot from Mason Neck, Virginia. Notice how the lens flare is causing much of the picture to appear hazy. Notice the odd flare spot here on the tree. Notice the irregular and multicolored sun rays emanating from the sun, and notice that unnatural gradation between the sun and the sky. It just doesn't look natural. None of these are appealing characteristics and can all be avoided if you simply point your camera in a different direction. This shot shows the same tree at the same time of day, same location, just at a different angle. Number 3, zoom with your feet. If your camera isn't the type that you're able to take lenses on and off, like a DSLR, maybe a mirrorless camera, then beware of digital zoom. Now, optical zoom is fine when you're using a camera that, because that's using the lens within that's what optical zoom is. But once you've reached the limits of optical zoom, sometimes digital zoom will kick in, and digital zoom is doing nothing except for cropping your picture in camera. The more digital zoom you use, the lower the quality your picture will be. So if you want to get the highest quality possible on lower end cameras, refrain from using the digital zoom and instead use the optical zoom. It's just better to physically step closer to your subject when possible. In other words, zoom with your feet. Number 4, shoot during the golden hours. Let's say you're on a family vacation to the beach and you didn't bring your big camera because you wanted to spend time with the family, and it turns out to be a gorgeous day and mom says, hey, let's take the family portrait for the next Christmas letter. And you know, all you have is your mom's camera, mom's phone to use. And so what time of day would you suggest you all get together for the portrait? Well, 1 or 2 hours after sunrise, right? Or 1 or 2 hours before sunset. So the warm light of the golden hours makes a big difference in the perceived quality of an image. It doesn't actually change the quality of the image. It just seems like a higher, nicer image because the color, the angle of light, the intensity of light is just more pleasing. Embrace unique angles. Photographers are an advantage here. It's much easier to take photos from atypical angles or not head height perspective when you're not restricted to looking through a viewfinder. So like in this example, shooting at unique angles will increase the physical quality of a shot. It will increase the emotional impact of the shot. I'm getting lower to the lake. I can frame the shot a little more because I'm just setting the camera down essentially on the grass right next to the water. And that's kind of difficult to do when you're trying to get landscape images on a tripod with a DSLR. It's the creative mind of a photographer who is taking the pictures. It's not the camera. Number 6, compose purposefully. Same idea here. Here's some questions that I keep in mind whenever I'm trying to increase the visual interest of a photograph through composition, regardless of what camera I'm using. So, for example, is every element in the frame positioned purposefully? Is the entire frame filled with things that contribute to the beauty of the scene? Do elements feel balanced across the scene? How does your eye naturally travel through the image? Do the lines, the curves, the shapes, all the elements, do they point the eye to the main subject first? Is there a foreground like the road? Is there a middle ground like the trees back here? And is there a background like the mountain? Consider these questions, and you may be amazed at how nicely photos from a lower-end camera will start turning out. Number 7, keep the camera steady. The lack of a tripod mount on mobile devices means that most shots are going to be handheld. And it's not bad to hand-hold shots, it's just that you have to remember 2 things. Number 1, take care not to unnecessarily jar the device when you're tapping the screen to take the picture. Okay, here's my selfie, and I tapped the screen too hard and it caused camera shake. The fact that you're tapping the screen at the exact moment that the photo is being taken just greatly increases the chances of camera shake. And then secondly, you'll just not be able to capture shutter speed effects. So don't expect waterfalls to look silky, and don't expect fireworks to show up as streaks of light against the sky. You just can't do that with a phone camera and lower-end cameras. If you want to do those type of things, you just have to steady it with something other than your hand. Okay, and then number 8, ensure accurate focus. Last of all here, when you're working with low-end cameras, you can't expect the focus to be spot on every time, like in this shot. Take special care to ensure that the autofocus has indeed focused on what you want to be in focus. And so just by taking the time to double check the focus, you'll increase the chances of your photo turning out better on lower-end cameras. So think you can remember that? Feel free to watch through the video again, but I think you'd be surprised at just how much better your photos will turn out regardless of what camera you use if you're able to shoot under plenty of light, avoid shooting directly under a light source, zoom in with your feet, shoot during the golden hours, embrace unique angles and compose purposefully, keep this camera steady, and double check that focus before taking the shot.